but because I don't like what Pat Robertson's doing. When he said 10 years ago that China was, quote, doing what it had to do with extreme abortion and infanticide and birth control, forced birth control, he said they had to do it and they needed more aggressive family planning. And I'm a Protestant, but I'm criticizing him. What the media does, though, is you say, we've got 30 million illegal aliens in this country. It's bankrupting all the states. The government wants to bring them in as a voting bloc. A lot of them are criminals that are coming up here to escape justice in Mexico. The media says racist to get us all divided so we can't have a real debate about this. Or, I don't want the government running health care. It's a boondoggle for insurance companies and it'll be a new tax. Shut up, racist. Remember the media saying that over and over again? Naming me by name and others, Ron Paul and others. It's just nothing to do with it. What does that have to do with it? So we can't have a real debate. Now, I've explained this many times from studying history. And all levels of government throughout the last 500 years at least, even goes back more than that in Western Europe, it happens everywhere. For some reason, criminal groups, whether they're drug dealers or thieves or whatever, or pedophiles, they like to get into government positions because they can protect themselves and do whatever they want. They can get away with it because now they have authority, and the people they abuse or kill, it's their word against the person with power, so most people are scared to go after the groups with power, and so that's why criminals and psychopaths and sadists all team up together. And so we've had many guests on over the years exposing the fact that a large percentage, I wouldn't say the majority from our studies, but 35, maybe more percent of Catholic leadership worldwide, Africa, Asia, Latin America, North America, England, it doesn't matter, Australia, they are caught. You get one pedophile in, he moves up through the parish, he then recruits his lovers in who also like children, and they set up a kingdom. Of course. When I set out studying this 16 years ago, 17 years ago, been on air for more than 14, I only sought after the truth in history books and government documents, and I kept running into police departments that are run by pedophiles, CPS departments that are run by pedophiles, truancy departments that are run by pedophiles, DynCorp filled with pedophiles, the UN filled with pedophiles. I mean, you can just Google or search engine the term UN child slavery rings, UN child sex slaves, UN diplomats, child sex slaves, U.S. diplomats, child sex slaves, UK diplomats, child sex slaves, Russian diplomats, child sex slaves. I mean, you put that term in. Let's do it right now, live on TV and for radio listeners, but we're simulcasting at prisonplanet.tv. Go to Google or whatever search engine you want and type in DynCorp child sex trafficking or sex trafficking, and you will get AP, Reuters, Chicago Tribune. But it comes out here and there, but never becomes a big news cycle on CNN and Fox. Okay, DynCorp International. There it is. DynCorp Halliburton sex slave scandal won't go away. That's prisonplanet.com, and then it has links to the AP. In fact, print me a bunch of those. I know you printed them a few days ago when we had Catherine Austin Fitz on, and she sent me emails saying, you didn't know DynCorp runs many of the CPS units in the country? And then I went and I found out, my God, I didn't know they were running, in some states, the majority of it, and they've been caught there. And I know that it came out that they were running these operations with hundreds of thousands of children and women per year. Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Africa, Middle East, Asia. I mean, it's so huge. And my point is this. Why are we only hearing about the Catholic Church? Because from my study, the United Nations, in fact, Google United Nations child sex abuse and you know, barbecuing children over fires. I mean, folks, you can do the research yourself. It is just unbelievable. And follow through those articles, because I want to get AP and Reuters. I don't want to just show our boiled down story. People say, oh, that's not Prison Planet, InfoWars. No, I mean, because you guys printed it, what, Fitz was on Monday or Tuesday? Monday? Yeah, and you guys found me Reuters, AP, and Chicago Tribune. In fact, that's over in this stack. But the point is, this is real. And yes, the Catholic Church covered this up because it goes right to the top. Ratzinger, was involved covering this stuff up 30 years ago. That's confirmed. And the establishment is in some internal war, blackmailing the Vatican over something. The Vatican's criticizing abortion. They're criticizing wars. They're criticizing Israel. For whatever reason, this is the only group that is being exposed. And you've got a U.S. media. Yeah, there's Chicago Tribune. U.S. stalls on human trafficking. Pentagon has yet to ban contractors from using forced labor. And that's literally tens of thousands of slaves in that article from 2005. But you can also search one, Chicago Tribune, DynCorp, child trafficking, and it'll come up. So my issue is, why are they only covering the Catholic Church? And they should be. But they should also be covering the Texas Youth Commission in facilities all over the state where the parking lots would fill up at night with people coming in to have sex with the kids that have been CPS'd or the kids in juvenile. They even had paid gladiatory fights where they would have them fight with weapons for betting. I mean, these are like treated like gamecocks or animals. And so that's my issue here, is that how many Republican leaders, how many Democratic leaders? Barney Frank was caught repeatedly with underage male prostitutes, 15, 16, 17 years old, out of a Georgetown complex. He didn't get in trouble because he gave a press conference and said, if you don't back off until the FBI to stop now, and it was confirmed it was happening, he said, I'm going to tell you what's really going on. And they shut up instantly. Congressman Foley caught doing this stuff. How many CPS workers, how many times do you see it in the back of the paper where the local Homeland Security head was caught, molesting children? Or flying in airplanes to meet with people that are going to sell them a kid. When I tell you, you heard Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, head of the Treasury, editor at Wall Street Journal, father of Reaganomics, saying, and he wasn't like this 5 years ago on the show. He's now been educated, saying the greatest evil in history is now in control of our government. The greatest, most sophisticated evil. And so how do these people work together? Globally, it's a network of perverts. It's a network of pedophiles. And that's just one group of them. Others like to brutalize women savagely, viciously. When you see movies like Hostel, produced by Quentin Tarantino, I have seen scores of articles in the Times of London, in British papers and in French papers. I remember one in Burgundy, France. This woman escaped from a castle that was owned by one of the richest people in France. She weighed less than 85 pounds, looked like a concentration camp victim. She got to the local state police office. They went to the castle and found a bunch of dead women in cages, and it was just shut down. Nothing was going to be done. Every day I read about some little girl on her bicycle disappears. And the CIA loads them on planes, DynCorp loads them on, and they just do. This is who does it. And the CPS hunts children. The CPS has bounties on kids that look a certain way. They wait at the city-owned hospitals with poor people who are having blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids. Those can go for $500,000. It goes through an adoption agency and goes to the person that wants them. And, of course, these criminals that run things, they then use their own system as a persecution arm against the public. Most of the sex offenders in the registries now were caught urinating behind their car. In fact, the president even talked about that with America's Most Wanted individual. Well, there are a lot of people who, get caught urinating at Mardi Gras who are on it. But we're not talking about them. Well, that is who you're talking about. If you are caught by the state police some places in Texas, it may be 100 miles to a gas station. And every one of us is guilty of the crime of being a human and pulling over, walking over to the barbed wire fence, getting behind a bush and urinating. Nope, that is a sex crime. The majority is made up of those. People urinating, people, out in the middle of nowhere, I see it in the news all the time. On deserted highways, cop pulls up, I saw you behind that bush, they go over and see the urine, they get you to admit, sex offender, because you're an animal to be put in the system. His boss is probably raping a kid at some government dungeon while he's putting you in the squad car. They've got some 2-year-old baby they're raping to death, okay? That's who these people are, and it's a big joke.